people will feel
England
and
gave
will
you
always
a great
associate it with
lifestyle.
racism
You
and
are benefiting
xenophobia. I'm
from
not
life in
negating
England,
that.
all right?
I'm not
England has
negating
given you
that.
everything, and it's
I'm not
about time you
negating
showed
that.
some
And I do.
appreciation
That's
for
called
what England
patriotism.
has done.
That is called.
Hello, Rafe Heydel-Mankoo here. Now, in the very lively debate that you are about to see, I go head-to-head with Iman Aiton about why the English should be proud to celebrate St. George's Day. As I say to her, she should show some appreciation and thank England for giving her the comfortable life and exposure she enjoys. All of these contrarians owe England a great debt, and it's about time we told them so. And have you ever noticed how it's always the English alone who are to blame for Britain's alleged past wrongs? One of the great conjuring tricks of recent decades is the manner in which Scottish and Welsh nationalists have cast themselves as victims of colonisation rather than as active participants in the expansion of the British Empire. Hollywood fuels this idea also that the English are villains. From Star Wars to Disney, the most dastardly villains invariably speak with cut-glass English RP accents. This, of course, is a hangover from the American Revolution, when Britain, or should I say England, was the enemy. Because, of course, up until today, many Americans assume that England and Britain are one and the same. Back home, the English and their national symbols are treated with contempt by a liberal elite hell-bent on mischaracterizing any form of pride in England as bigotry. And if you go to the capitals of Wales and Scotland, Cardiff and Edinburgh, you'll see the Welsh dragon and the Scottish saltire flying everywhere. But in London, the capital of England, you won't even see St. George's Cross flying from City Hall. Unfortunately, another reason that England isn't celebrated more is that all of England's achievements have been offered up to be woven into Britain's national fabric. Every English achievement is seen as British in a way that simply isn't the case for, say, Scotland. So to truly strengthen an English identity, its people must reclaim and celebrate as their own those values and concepts which have become an established part of the British character, from notions of fair play, justice and the rule of law, to institutions like the monarchy and parliament, to the English language itself. They were first and foremost English. Anyway, enough from me. Here's the debate.
Air of controversy. I don't know who wants to start. Let's see who wants to start about St. George's Day.
Well, you know what, Rafe is excellent manners, so I'm actually going to let you start, if you wouldn't mind.
Oh my gosh, what a civil way to start this, this discussion.
Let's see what happens.
You.
Happy St. George's Day, first and foremost. A great chart. Remember Cecil Rhodes' great quotation. He says, "Remember, sir, you are an Englishman and have therefore won first prize in the lottery of life." Unfortunately, today it doesn't seem very much like that's very much in evidence, because whilst everybody else in our society today is encouraged to celebrate their identity and their heritage and their culture, it seems that there's one exception, and that's England and the English. You know, when the Scots and the Welsh wave their flags proudly, it's called progressive nationalism. Increasingly, when the English do that, they say that it's racist. And I think it's a huge shame because, you know, England really invented the modern world, from the English language to the Industrial Revolution, the mother of parliaments.
I can feel the hairs on the back of her neck prickling.
Well, it shouldn't be, because these are all just factual. This is all factual. The spread of capitalism around the world, you know, even the way we dress, the suit is the universal form of dress. That's an English invention too. So there's so much to celebrate about England. But, you know, and strong, self-confident nations that are the most successful don't constantly navel-gaze and self-flagellate about perceived wrongs from the past. They celebrate their achievements, but England uniquely isn't allowed to do so.
Okay, well, I appreciate the earlier points that you made. I disagree with your latter points. So I actually find it quite ironic that we're talking about St. George's Day and we're actually referring to a Turkish man. So let's just be clear. St. George's Day, the gentleman that we know, part of St. George's Day, he was actually born in Turkey. Hold on. Apparently, he never actually came to England. And secondly, he is also the patron saint of many different countries, including Bulgaria, Ethiopia, Greece, Serbia, and Palestine. Isn't that ironic? And Portugal, thank you, right?
Great.
So I actually find it quite interesting. Right, so I think that, you're right, it's an aside, but I just thought it'd be handy to know. In terms of why this is an issue, for many people that look like me, this nationalism and patriotism is basically centered around including you and excludes me. And I think what happens in these types of conversations is we conflate...
Why does it include me?
Okay, so let me explain. So we tend to conflate patriotism with nationalism. So patriotism is very much centered around supporting and devotion of your country, right? So I'm patriotic. I care about my country. I was born here. I come and talk about issues that pertain to England. I am patriotic. Support and devotion. Nationalism, on the other hand, according to the Oxford Dictionary, it is support of the interests of your country to the detriment and exclusion of other nations and their interests. So by definition, Rafe, nationalism is exclusionary. It excludes people, and this is what St George's flag.
Let him come in and reply.
Yeah, well, firstly, St George wasn't Turkish. He was a Greek Cappadocian descent Roman Praetorian Guard soldier.
He was born in Cappadocia, which is Turkey, modern-day Turkey.
But he was Greek, he wasn't Turkish.
But he was still born in Turkey,
but he was not Turkish. That's a modern construct. You can't use modern
language. That's not what we're debating today.
But, you know, why call it nationalism? We're talking about patriotism here. It's interesting.
They're interchangeable.
It's interesting that the Scottish Nationalist Party and the Welsh Nationalists have managed to make their form of patriotism progressive nationalism. And for some reason, the same isn't allowed here. When we know, no, thank you. When we know full well that England is one of the world's 3 least racist nations, behind only Brazil and Sweden. And yet, of course, the narrative that we get is that this is a land of systemic racism and colonialism and slavery and all the rest of it. The evidence simply doesn't stack up.
No, that's
there is no country which has got...
a lie.
No, I'm sorry, this is not a lie at all. We have the most diverse parliament in Europe. We have the most diverse government. We have much better race relations than anywhere else.
Let's get back to the subject.
The subject
You're going off on many tangents.
No, do you mind? Would you please let me finish my point?
Go ahead,
The
please.
point is that we have a harmonious society here in England. So nationalism and patriotism here isn't exclusive. My point here, which you've conveniently forgotten, is that this is an inclusive society. And I think it's about time that we celebrate it.
That's what patriotism
Winston
is
Churchill
about.
once said, "There is a forgotten, nay, almost forbidden word, which means more to me than any
May I
other."
interject now?
That word is England, and we need to reclaim for England all of those great things that we've woven up into the British national fabric.
Thank you, Kay. I think we should bring it back to the flag. So just to kind of bring a bit more context into this conversation. For me personally, when we think about the Union Jack, firstly, the Union Jack was... Union flag. Sorry, Union Jack.
We're discussing England, not the Union Jack.
Hold on, we're talking about 2 different flags and we're talking about St George's Day.
We're
talking about St George's Day.
Yeah, Union flag is that. When it's on the end of the back of a boat, that's a Union Jack.
Sorry. So, Union flag. Thank you. Thank you for correcting me, Kay. When you think about the Union flag, I think that is more centred around civic nationalism, which is defined as liberal kind of conservative views, equality, right? So we ended the slave trade. These are the things that a lot of people can kind of get behind, especially because that flag was represented in the 50 colonies that Britain colonised in Africa. So we can get behind that flag. But what happens with the St George's flag, again, it actually has been, as you know, it's been circulated throughout many conversations over the last week or 2 or a few days, is that the St George's flag is very much, or has been, hijacked by far right, and therefore, hold on a second, and therefore is connected and leads to xenophobia and racism.
I'd love to see where this mythical far right is. I can't find them anywhere.
Therein lies the distinction between the 2 flags. And so if we want to talk about inclusivity, I would say we go for the Union flag, because that one is far more inclusive, far more people can see themselves in it, that representation that we keep hearing, as opposed to the St George's flag, which has been hijacked. And it's a Turkish man. He would be an immigrant in these days.
In 1966, there was a sea of Union flags in the World Cup. Now at every England match, there's a sea of St George's
So you're
flags.
saying you claimed it?
The Royal Navy flag at the back there, the white ensign, is the flag of England. You go to any country church in this country, in the Cotswolds, in the Lake District, you'll see the flag of St George flying serenely
you tried to
above
reclaim it,
parish
right?
churches. The flag has been absolutely reclaimed, and there's no huge far-right element in this country. This is a great another myth of the left. And the right haven't hijacked... One second, please. The right haven't hijacked nationalism. The left have vacated the field. You know, in the old days, people like Tony Benn, Clement Attlee were hugely proud of the left's contributions to England and were proud of being English. People like Billy Bragg on the left.
So are Labour.
Great patriot. No, they're not.
Yes, they are.
1 second, let me finish. What's happened now is the left hate the nation state, nationalism and borders.
Sweeping statements.
Because they are internationalists. They're not nationalists, whereas the right have always celebrated that. So it's up to the left to reclaim their proud history. You know, the Levellers, the Diggers, the Chartists. There's so much that the left can celebrate if they wanted
please.
to.
We're almost
Thank you. Let's just say about reclaim, I will just bring it back to the N-word. We have all seen many, many black people from here across the world, in the US, try to reclaim the N-word, and it doesn't negate the fact that the N-word will forever be associated as a racial slur and derogatory towards black people. So you try as you might, sir, try as you might in regards to reclaiming the St George's flag. It doesn't negate the fact that other people will feel
England
and
gave
will
you
always
a great
associate it with
lifestyle.
racism
You
and
are benefiting
xenophobia.
from life in England, all right? England has given you everything, and it's about time you showed some appreciation for what England has done.
That is called patriotism, sir,
Good to
not
see you both.
nationalism.
Thank you very much indeed for joining us, as always, on the programme. Certainly livening up the first hour.